Now a few words about the history of Lucerne. It has its origins in a little fishing village, first mentioned in 840. And they had settled on the right shore of River Reuss, where we are now, on a rocky ground where they were safe from floodings. And thanks to the interesting geographic situation between the plains and the alpine regions, this little village soon became an important marketplace where different agricultural products were exchanged. And then in the beginning of the 14th century, Gotthard Pass was opened. That was one of the shortest and most important communication lines across the Alps, linking north and south Germany with Italy. And so Lucerne became an international transshipment center, because there were no roads on the shores of this lake at that time, so all goods had to be put on ships, transported to the south end of the lake, and from there on mule back up to Gotthard Mountain and in direction to Italy. So for many 100 years, Lucerne had just about 4,000 inhabitants and was a city of trade and transshipment business. And in the 19th century, Lucerne was connected to the international railway net. Gotthard Tunnel was built, steamships were invented, and that was then the beginning of tourism. And in the second half of last century, many queens and kings and millionaires came here for a long holiday. And also the lake and the river never freeze, because the lake is rather deep. Its maximum depth is 214 meters, so that's quite deep. And there is a current going through, that is River Reuss. You know, that river springs in Gotthard Mountain, flows through this lake, and then it's a tributary river to the Rhine. So the lake and the river never freeze. Maybe you should turn around to have a look at this beautiful house here, which has really an old history. It goes back to the 12th century, the substance of this house. It once belonged to the Dukes of Austria. Then it was the property of the municipality and used as a town hall, later on as a public school. Then it was bought by the Saffron Guild. You know, saffron is a very costly spice. And the grocers became wealthy dealing with saffron. So they chose this name for their corporation. And you can see them having a meal up there, old members of the Saffron Corporation. And later on it was transformed into a pub, and for a long time it has now been a hotel. Since 1836, Hotel zur Waage in German, which means the scale, because there still is fish market nearby where they weigh the goods, the fishes, you know. That's why it's called zur Waage. And the decoration is from last century. We have quite a tradition of painted houses here in Lucerne. That goes back to the founder and first director of School of Arts and Crafts. Weingartner was his name. So he also decorated this house here, and some other houses I shall show you later on. And this here was the eldest drugstore we had in town. And there is a Latin inscription above the window which says, "There is no herb to cure love." What? No herb can cure love. Oh. This is called the Square of the Deer, and it derives its name from this historic pub with this lovely Rococo sign with two golden deers in it. Here, two more examples of painted houses. This one here was done in historic style, and it remembers a battle that was fought against the Germans in 1499. So you see two Lucerne officers represented, you see a hunting scene, and under the roof, coat of arms of different Lucerne municipalities. These paintings are about 100 years old as well. So this one here was done in Renaissance style. It was ordered by the proprietor of the house. He was a famous goldsmith. And you see that he made also advertisement for his profession. You see the little children playing with gold rings. Over there you see a portrait of Goethe. The German poet Goethe used to travel a lot, and he also came to Lucerne twice in his life. Once he was accommodated at this Eagle Hotel when he went to Italy. Eagle Hotel was the best hotel in town. And you can still see this lovely sign with the German crown and the double eagle, symbol of the German Empire. Most of these buildings are from the 16th century for one reason, you know. In old days, people used to build their houses of wood, you know, because wood was cheap building material that was found everywhere in the surrounding. But it had one disadvantage. We had a lot of fires, you know. A strong south wind blowing, houses built close together. And so the authorities said from now on, if somebody wants to become a citizen, he has to build himself a stone house. So that's when they started to build stone houses, but not everybody could afford it. So that's why most of these buildings are from the 16th, 17th century.
Did they have paved streets 300 years ago?
Yes, they had. Only this kind of pavement they had, yes. Yeah.
Very nice.
So this house here, to come back to old buildings, is one of the first stone houses of Lucerne. It is done in Gothic style, and it belonged to a noble family, a patrician family. They still have descendants living, but they don't live in this house anymore. These are now just hired flats. And by the way, most Swiss people do live in hired flats, more than 75%. So that's the square called Market of Cereals or Market of Grains. Grains were sold here, mainly wheat, you know, and it was also sold in the ground floor of the town hall. This is the old town hall of Lucerne. It was done in 1602 in Italian Renaissance style by Italian stonemasons. It has a funny mixture of style because the roof has typical element of a Swiss farmer's house. The roof was adapted to the local climate, you know. So you have Italian palazzo covered with a farmer's house roof. The ground floor is now used for exhibitions, for receptions, and on the upper floor civil weddings are celebrated, and the municipal council held its meetings in one of these halls. When they built this town hall, they decided to have a tower, a belfry, you know, that was quite important. The higher the better, as a symbol of power. So there already was a little stone house here where they kept important documents, safe from fire, of course, and they lifted it up to the actual height with a bell to ring the councillors to the meetings, with a huge clock indicating the hours and the moon phases. And it was always important for fire alarm, you know. Guardians used to watch out from these little turrets above, and when fire broke out, they started to blow their trumpets. So that was the fire alarm of those days. They also communicated with the guardians on the rampart, on the Musek wall. We are now in the real heart of old Lucerne. So there were little lanes like this one here. Other lanes led down to the river, and at night everything was closed by gates. Another symbol of Lucerne, that water tower, constructed as a defense tower, a stronghold in the beginning of the 14th century. It's got a prison inside. It served as treasury where they kept valuable objects they had conquered in battles. It was quite a safe place. It has very thick walls. And then it was also used as state's archives to keep important documents safe from fire. So fortunately, this water tower could be saved when the bridge burned down. Of course, it had to be cleaned, you know. It had to be renovated. And they found interesting things like oak beams in the attic from trees cut in winter 1338, which means really from the time of its construction. But on this lake we have the biggest navigation company of Switzerland. 20 boats altogether. 5 of them are nostalgic paddle steamers. They wanted to destroy them, but then some people started to raise funds, and now they have been renovated at high cost. The eldest dates from 1901. They have very stylish interiors, and it's quite relaxing to have a ride on one of those paddle steamers. So this is the main church of Lucerne, going back to a former Benedictine monastery. It's one of the most significant churches of this style in Switzerland. Once a week they give organ concerts. It has a very mighty organ, one of the eldest of Europe. Yeah. But that's just on Tuesday evenings. So we have the Lion's Monument all to ourselves tonight at this time of the day. It reminds us of the time of Swiss mercenaries. You know, especially in this central part of Switzerland, there was no industry, very little handicraft, big families. So young men went to fight as soldiers for foreign rulers, mainly for the French king. And the Swiss Guard fell during the French Revolution in August 1792, defending the French King Louis XVI. And it shows a dying lion that protects with his paw symbolically the coat of arms of French kings. And there is a Latin inscription above which says to the loyalty and bravery of the Swiss.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Doris.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the tour.
Thank you. Thank you very much.